Exactly. All right, here we go. And 3, 2, 1. GudeLaurance.
Paul Goody, how's it going?
Hey, it's going all right. So tomorrow, Jennifer Pratt, my wife, it's her birthday,
That's right.
and we are going to go to karaoke. It's
Really?
something that she wanted to do.
I would not peg you two to be karaoke people.
Okay, so this is what I'll say, and I'm not proud about this, but you may know Kevin, Jennifer's roommate from
Yeah.
when she and I were dating.
Yeah.
He had a 50th birthday party. At his 50th birthday party, there was a karaoke machine. And then,
Paul.
after a while, people stopped using the karaoke machine. And I was like, can I use the karaoke machine? And they said yes. And so I did it way too much.
Were you
It was
doing
very exciting.
Were you doing karaoke in earnest, or were you just messing about?
Oh, in earnest, yeah. I was doing very well, in my opinion. I thought I was doing great. I have not checked in with Jennifer about what she thought about it. Depending on what sort of medication I was on at the time, I may have been doing well. I may not. But here's the thing. I felt like I was on pitch. I thought I was doing a really good job, and people seemed to be enjoying it.
I
So,
have a very complicated relationship with karaoke. I was in Australia of all places. Technically, I was in New Zealand. I was in Auckland.
New Zealand. Fun fact: New Zealand, not Australia.
Not Australia.
A lot of people from both countries will mention it.
But I know Kiwis hate Aussies, and Aussies don't look very favorably on Kiwis.
To me, not being an asshole to you, you had a trip to Australia that you did while you were in Australia.
Yes.
You took a slight trip.
I went
to New
over
Zealand
to New
back
Zealand.
Australia.
It's not that I don't think
Yeah.
New Zealand's part of Australia. Thank you for pointing that out.
Exactly.
Anyway,
I needed to point that out because I was.
because otherwise people
being
might
an
think you were
asshole.
just being a jerk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was in a bar in Auckland, and there was hardly anybody in it. It was a karaoke bar, and there were and I was there. It was late at night. I was just like, I didn't want to stay. I was staying at a hostel, and at hostels you have shared rooms. So I didn't really feel like hanging out in like the common room. So I went to this bar that was down the street. Just sat at the bar, had a couple beers, while the same 5 people took turns on the karaoke machine. And it was, you could tell they were the regulars, and I was just flipping through the book, right? And the bartender was like, "Do you want to sing a song?" And I'm like, "Nah, I don't want to sing." But I got close. I got real close because I'd had a few drinks, and I'm like, I'm in a country on the other side of the world. Nobody here knows me. Nobody here, like, I could give a fake name. Nobody's not going to know. Nobody, they're going to know I'm an American. That's about it, right? So I'm like, why not? Why not? And I'd never done karaoke before here in Seattle, even though I've gone with friends so they can do it. And I almost did it. Like, I got so close, but I didn't.
Wow,
I didn't. Paid my tab. Walked out of the bar, and then when I walked out, I realized that the karaoke machine was being piped through speakers to the sidewalk. So I'm like, all right, well, glad I didn't do that. However, now this is
a bullet.
Dodge a bullet. Now this is why I think my relationship is complicated, and not just why I don't like doing it. I love Rock Band. Like, I'll set up Rock Band here at the theater and invite a bunch of people over, and we'll play instruments and sing, and I'll sing. I'll cut a rug. But I won't do it for karaoke, and I don't know why that is. I don't know why I accept one, but not the other.
Would you do rockaroke?
Now tell me what rockaroke is.
Rockaroke, I don't know if they call it that anymore. It was called that at one bar that I I never went to, I don't go to bars. You know this.
Is that with a live band?
It's a live band it's a cover band, but anybody can come up and be the lead singer. It's pretty inventive, I think. If I were in a band and when we had no lead singer, of course, number one, I would try to become the lead singer. You know this about me. But number two, if no one was having it, we would just become that, and then we'd have a new lead singer all the time. Oh, I have to point out, when I got out of the Air Force, one of the first jobs I had I was an MC at a karaoke bar for a while.
I
had these fake vampire fangs that I would wear when I was doing it.
I almost became.
And people hated me.
I almost became an MC karaoke MC as well. I don't know if you remember this story, but a friend of ours bartended at a bar and asked me if I wanted to take over the karaoke hosting that they did like on, Thursdays and Wednesdays and Thursday nights. And I got, I almost did it. And I thought, well, that would maybe that might be a good character as the karaoke host who just hates karaoke.
Yeah.
But one more thing, which I was gonna bring up, but I completely lost my train of thought. Thanks, Paul. Anyway,
that's what I'm here for, Ben.
Yeah, it'll come to me.
That's
what it was. I was gonna bring up. See? Do you remember? Do you remember when we went to go see? Speaking of like bringing people in from the crowd to be your new lead singer, were you at the Tiger Lilies show when they were like, "Our drummer has just died"?
Yeah,
and they're like, and he was like, does anybody want to come up and play the drums for us?" And nobody did it. I was really surprised. Nobody took them up on that.
Yeah, there was you and I went to see Mr. Show one time.
Yeah.
And they had the joke, they had the one-armed drummer. And the joke was that they were trying to kick the one-armed drummer out of the band. This is a sketch. They were trying to kick the one-armed drummer out of the band. And it was because he was a bad drummer. And they were trying to break that to him. And he's like, "It's because I have one arm." And they were like, no, you're just a bad drummer. And he wasn't listening. And then people would try to, okay, well, here, I'll explain it. They're saying that you're just a bad drummer because you have one arm. And they were like, no, that's not what it is. And they went to the crowd and they said, "Can anyone please explain this?" And I knew what the joke was, and I wanted to do it, but they were asking people over in the front thing.
Yeah. And
no one there got the joke or did it. So it's a very sad day for me. And you know me, I have no qualms about getting up on stage at a thing. Sometimes people hate it when I do that.
Then you would have loved this tourist destination in Deadwood, South Dakota, where they do a reenactment of the trial of the guy who shot Wild Bill Hickok.
Wow!
And when Blair and I were on a road trip through Deadwood a few years ago, we went to this thing because I'd been to it with my dad and my grandfather when I was like in junior high. And I remember they did this whole thing. I remember it being in like an actual theater. But when we went a couple years ago, it was like in the, like a conference room, like a banquet room, not a conference, but like a banquet hall, right? Chairs just set up on the floor, a tiny stage. Anyway,
it's just in the basement of the Marriott.
Exactly. We were the only people there who were like under 50, and so they would bring up all these old people. I say old, they're Deadwood is like a cruise ship, but on land. It's like a casino cruise ship. It's like the most of the tourists are, older. There's lots of gambling, and it's close enough to Sturgis that there was a lot of Trumpism going on there. There's like a whole store that sold Trump looking muscular, like standing on top of the flag or some BS like that. Anyway, that being said, we were the youngest.
By the way, against flag code.
Exactly.
You shouldn't stand on top of the
flag. So many things the right does is against flag code. But we were the youngest people there by far, and the dude would come out, and both Blair and I had to go up and be in this reenactment. They would bring up audience members as witnesses, and I discovered that they don't like it when you play along. They actually because I was playing along. I was like, all right, I'm not uncomfortable being on stage. I'm uncomfortable right now, but in general, I'm not uncomfortable being on stage. So I adopted a character, and I was playing along, and I was ad-libbing, and they effing hated it because they didn't give me a script. Everybody else got a script, but they pretended to lose mine. And so the bit is watching this poor audience member squirm, but I wasn't having any of it, and eventually they pretended to find the script. It's all part of the bit, I'm sure. They pretended to find the script that they were going to give me. And then you know what? I wasn't far off. I was kind of proud of myself that I wasn't far off of where I needed to go.
That's good. But yeah, you never mess with another man's hustle, Ben.
No. Anyway.
Nice. But you know as well as I do, Ben, there's nothing that the funny guy in the office hates more than someone being funny at the same time as them.
Yep.
They're used to people, like if you, especially, Ben, the funny guy who's only funny because he's quoting other people's stuff. And then you know the stuff, so you finish the joke, and then they get mad at you.
Yeah.
So, hey, look at who it is. It's Edward.
Hey, Edward. Speaking of
Guess
quoting
who was
other...
rolling around in stinky stuff today. Edward was.
Oh, that wasn't you?
Stinky... No, it wasn't. I took a bath recently, actually. It was nice. The stinky stuff that Edward was rolling around in was just plants. It's just this one weird-smelling plant that he loves to roll around in.
That
I can't stand for whatever reason.
Yeah. Speaking of quoting other people's things, you know, there's that whole, like, joke stealing thing in professional stand-up comedy. People get accused of it, blah, blah. Well, I was talking recently about comedy because we were having our selection process for Sketchfest, for this year's Sketchfest, and we got talking about, you know, like what's acceptable comedy these days, like what's considered edgy and what's considered just being racist, right?
Yeah.
And so I was talking about George Carlin because, like, when I was, like, George Carlin was a very formidable comedian when I was growing up. Like, I based a lot of my comedy on Carlin. But I've actually, like, I got all of his albums in my iTunes, and every once in a while something gets pulled up, and it's actually, it's I don't want to say it's embarrassing, but it's not aged well. And there's this one, and I'm like, oh no, Carlin, I want Carlin to be timeless. But there's this one joke that I know he stole from Billy Connolly, because I know Billy Connolly did it like 20 years before I heard Carlin do it.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, George Carlin, you're not stealing a joke from Billy Connolly. Are you assuming people in America don't know who that is?
Many people in America don't know who it is, but what was the joke? I'm interested.
It's a bit crude, but basically the joke is, why do people in Scotland take sheep to the edge of a cliff before they're going to shag it? It's so that the sheep will push back more.
Oh!
So I heard Billy Connolly, and Billy Connolly, a Scottish comedian, I heard him do that on an HBO special back in like the mid-'80s. And then, you know, oddly enough, that same joke, almost word for word, shows up in a Carlin HBO special about 20 years later.
And I mean, you know, time and place and all that, Billy Connolly wins it.
Yeah. When I heard that, that was sort of like the beginning of the end for Carlin for me. It's like when I heard that, I'm like, oh, George, no.
You know, Ben, interestingly enough, your your line in 10 Things I Hate About You has to do with sheep, and I just now I'm wondering, the Are There Goats has got to be a change that they wanted there to be made so that the trailer could be shown on television. I'm positive.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy standards and practices thing.
It is crazy. I don't know exactly why they made that change, but I've always wanted to believe that if they had put me into if they had put my voice in the trailer, they would have had to pay me more. I've always, because it's on TV and this was like before streaming and all that. So I've always kind of believed that. But I mean, you have a good point. I guess goats are less sexualized than sheep are. Oddly enough,
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because I remember, was it the X-Files? Something had a standards and practices person on, and they were talking about how you could show poop, but if you showed poop, it couldn't be moist, for example. Like all these different things that you could and could not do, just the varying degrees.
There was a Mad cartoon, a Mad magazine cartoon that was in one of the books that I had it was all about like dog poop, what you can do with dog poop, but they were like, we can't realistically show dog poop, so to represent dog poop, we're gonna show these sausage links. These connected sausage links. And for the longest time, I always associated like sausage links with dog crap.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah. They don't think about that, the psychological toll it's going to take on you. I remember Jeff Soul, friend of the podcast, Edward hates him, had Cracked magazine when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that was my first real exposure to Cracked. And then Cracked became an internet sensation.
They did.
They did a really good job making their own.
And then,
website,
I stopped following Cracked after a while, but I heard that they sort of became overrun by SJWs and sort of lost their humor.
Interesting,
but
Ben.
I don't know if that's true or if that rumor was just floated by somebody who was like fired for whatever reason.
Well, here's what I do know. I do know that they had a stable of really funny guys and gals that they had, and then that crew of people sort of, I don't know if they got paid too much but they got sort of replaced by a new group of people.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I fell off a little bit. So let's see. I am thinking of a thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. I have a situation that I'm monitoring. Let's just put it that way.
Just a work thing?
I can neither confirm or deny what kind of a thing it is, Ben.
Okay, then.
There is someone who is, I can't tell, it's one of two things. Either one, they are trying to do a thing, like have a plot that they're trying to execute, and they're executing it very badly, so it's very obvious what they're doing.
Okay.
Or they consider themselves a good person, so much so that the thing that they're doing is subconscious. They want to do a bad thing, but they aren't actually doing it. It's coming through with them being a good person. Does that make sense? Like it's one of the two. I'll give you an example, Ben. Let's say that there are a bunch of old ladies at a casserole recipe.
They're at a casserole recipe?
Old ladies, and they have a casserole recipe, right?
Yeah.
They have a casserole recipe that they worked on themselves, right? Together. They made these tweaks to this casserole recipe. And one of the old ladies in talking about the other one, right? Let's say it's a tuna casserole recipe. I'm just making this up. Said, well, I don't think that my tuna casserole recipe or Becky's tuna casserole recipe, I don't think one's necessarily better than the other one. But I do know that when my nephew ate Becky's casserole recipe, he got food poisoning. So, that's something that happened to him at one point in time. So either one of two things are happening. Either she's going out of her way to try to sabotage Becky's reputation, or she doesn't know what she's doing and she just keeps on bringing up this food poisoning because she's guileless and she doesn't know that subconsciously she doesn't like Becky. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I am stymied, Ben, as to how to react to this, as I am the person who is, let's say, making a casserole recipe story for the local paper. Like I'm writing about, and I'm like, do I put this thing about food poisoning in my story because I've heard it now 10 times, or do I leave it out because I know that technically she's doing something? Obviously, then I would leave it out, is what I would do.
Because you're assuming that she's got ulterior motives.
I'm assuming she has ulterior motives, and I can write the story without putting that in there. I know she wants me to put it in there because she's mentioned it every single time we've talked about it.
Yeah.
But I can leave it out.
Well, I mean,
that's my thought.
I mean, maybe you should contact other people who've eaten, was it Becky's tuna casserole, to see if they've gotten sick, if they got food poisoning. If it's a safety issue, maybe do some due diligence. If it's not, then, and it's not an important detail.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. Talk to the other people. Now the problem is, of course, that the other people that I have to talk to
died from food poisoning.
No, are basically Becky's family. So I can say, hey, have you ever had food poisoning when you've eaten Becky's tuna casserole? And they'll be like, no, of course not. No, never.
Yeah, of course.
So you can't trust anybody.
They're on Team Becky.
Like I said, Machiavellian, Game of Thrones, lots of problems. Hey, Ben, what's going on in the news, my friend?
What is going on in the news? The world is on fire. There was a pipe that burst in the Gulf of Mexico, and there was this.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Gulf of Mexico on fire.
That was at the same time where the Northwest was under a heat dome, and it got, the official high here was 108. Portland, the official high was 116 or something. There was a town in Canada.
Crazy.
There was a town in Canada. I can't remember the name. I think it's Littleton or something. They hit 121 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And then the town burned down. It was that was a little wacky. Things have cooled off here a little bit. Oh, but the biggest story that I've heard, as far as politics go, is that Texas is about to pass these voter suppression laws. And so the Texas Democrats left the state to prevent the Republicans from having a quorum and passing these voter suppression laws.
Wow.
And the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has threatened to arrest these Democratic lawmakers who left the state, even though constitutionally he is not allowed to. But that didn't stop didn't stop him from saying that. And Ted Cruz, of course, was talking about this and just got slammed for the reason he left Texas back in February.
Oh yeah, I was going to say you should just keep
Yeah.
Nothing about that. Just
anyway, one of the rules that was in the provision, or I'm making up words. One of the provisions that was in the law was that they were going to outlaw early voting on Sundays after 1 p.m. And that was focused specifically towards black congregations
Churches,
who have
right?
souls to polls, who encourage their congregation to go vote after Sunday services. And so this was like basically a blatant like cry or a blatant like law to keep black people, predominantly Democratic voters, from voting. That was stricken from the record. That was taken out of the law. But I just heard this today. One of the forms of identification allowed to vote is a handgun permit. One of the forms of identification not allowed to vote is a state-issued university ID, which sort of like tells you kind of what's going on. So that's the biggest story that I heard lately.
We went to a neighboring town for their 4th of July fireworks, and they were auctioning off weapons for like the Girl Scouts or something. I don't remember. It was some weird juxtaposition of auctioning off weapons for something, and it was $20, 3 different weapons. And the thing I thought about was, I don't know, Illinois' gun laws are pretty restrictive. So I didn't know if I could enter and actually win one or not. And not that I wanted to, but I didn't know if I could, which I think is a good place to be at.
Would you have taken it if you won it? Would you have kept it?
Would I have? I probably would have given it to someone so that they could do whatever they wanted to with. No, of course not.
It is important to note that I am throwing these at you and not giving them to you.
I feel as though it is in my best interest not to own a handgun. But I do like spears. So
spears.
Yeah, I think spears are great. They're just mentally, they are they're a weapon and a very simple shape, but they're like long distance, short distance. You know, maybe I'm thinking like, you know, if you had javelins, for example, you can get a bunch of those. I like slingshots. I like simple things. Gunpowder is the real thing that I'm not a big fan of.
At one point, you were practicing with like a wrist rocket or a slingshot or something?
Yeah, slingshot. Yeah. That area where we were practicing is now under new management. Jennifer is fine with still shooting her bow and arrow over there, but because the law is now that is someone else's property and there's a no trespassing sign on it, I cannot go. I will not allow my, mentally I can't do it.
Mr. Law-abiding citizen, Paul Goody.
Yeah, it's true. But I know I am good with a slingshot. Yeah. It didn't take me that long to get good with it, so I should be fine.
Hey, if somebody tries to steal your personal property.
Oh, I was going to say, a giant robotic tripod or something like that. But yeah, same difference.
So last year, Cole Hornaday and I did a panel Jepper Live, and we had a phone call with you where you were the guy who sold Darling Monkeys.
Yeah, was that last year? What?
That was July 2020. That was a year ago.
What?
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, if you would have asked me, I would have said like 3 months ago, maybe.
Anyway, the reason I bring that up, not just because it was a great piece and people are still talking about it, but Cole and I are doing another show in September, and it's a hybrid show, so we're going to be live at West of Lenin, and we're gonna have a small audience, but it's gonna be a mix of like live performers and videotape pieces, and it's all gonna be streamed.
I hope that is able to happen.
Yeah, me too. We're actually filming the next Panel Jumper here this weekend. However, Cole and I want to do another Paul Goody phone call.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But we don't know. Like, I feel that we shot our shot with the Darling Monkeys. Like, I don't know what else.
We don't want to do the monkey thing. We do
course.
something else. Definitely.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you read comics growing up. What sort of like crazy things did you find in comics that we could make a bit out of?
Well, oh boy, put me on the spot, Ben. I'm not sure.
One of the things that we were talking about, one of the ideas actually Cole threw out, and let me know what you think of this. I mean, if you don't like it, don't tell me, but if you like it, tell me. Is that there's a letter, this kid wrote a letter to the editor where he comes up with a new character. And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. We're not really blah blah blah. We're not doing that now. And then you know, suddenly a couple months later, that character shows up in the comics. Let's say, you know, it's like Groot or something, right? A character that's actually gone on to be famous. And so we find that kid who's now an adult, who realizes that Marvel completely ripped him off.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it. I think it's a great idea.
All right.
I even have what I think the turn could be.
Oh, what's the turn?
I think the idea is that this kid's thing sounds exactly like, you know, whatever the hero is, but then the kid starts throwing out like the other things that they took out because he's an adult as a kid, right?
Yeah.
So something like, you know, either the character has a big deal with her mom's boyfriend, like, and then her mom's boyfriend also there's a little sidecar, and his mom and mom's boyfriend gets to ride in the sidecar as well, and whenever the mom says that you can't have Tootsie Rolls because it's dinner time, the mom's boyfriend comes out of the sidecar and says, you can have all the Tootsie Rolls you want, little guy. In fact, here's some money. Why don't you go to... And so, and like I said, I'm just throwing this out there. But the idea is that the child who came up with the superhero kept on getting bribed by his mom's boyfriend to leave so that he and his mom could have some alone time.
Right.
But even as an adult, the guy doesn't clock that.
That's a whole lot better than kind of where I was going, in that, like, if the kid came up with Groot specifically, but the adult, I mean, we want to keep the Panel Jumper a family show, but the adult says, yeah, they took out the best idea where all the branches are penises, you know, this is something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, no. And Ben, it's funny that you say that, because that was actually one of the things, and I'm sorry about this, but one of the things, the thing is that they took out the worst thing that I had for Captain America, which was just huge boobs, just the biggest, just softest, like, motherly boobs, and Captain America would give you a hug and you could just nestle in there, and it was still,
those
I gotta say,
are America's
still
boobs.
Steve Rogers,
Yeah.
still Super Soldier Serum, everything else is the same, but they took away
that's that one side effect that they don't tell you about in the movies, is the Super Soldier Serum also gives you super boobs.
Exactly. Yeah. But in the same way, though, Ben, I then was like, well, that's too crass. Let's come up with something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can. Now, here's the question: was this an actual? Can we just not think of it now, but we know what the actual superhero was? Like, does Cole know of a situation where this happened?
No, we totally made this up. This isn't an actual thing.
Oh, this is great then. Yeah. We have sky's the limit. We can figure something out.
Like, if you want to go that route, then any superhero that like came out like in the, you know, I mean, we can play with time, of course, but somebody that appeared on the scene like in the mid '70s, late '70s, something like that.
Yeah. We can. In fact, that's a homework assignment for Cole. Cole can figure out what character
Yeah.
A character came out in the like the mid, I think like 80. How old was the kid going to be? Like, yeah, 80, 82, 83 would be good.
Yeah, not quite a teenager, but old enough to like understand comics and write a letter to the editor. So like
exactly, yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10.
And then we write the original letter too. And then we write the original letter. The first paragraph of the letter, and it says, "Why don't you just read?" You know, and we'd love it if you read. And he's like, "Yeah, they didn't even print the whole thing. They didn't even print the whole thing." And so they read the first part, and the first part is perfect, and it just gets crazy.
Yeah, I think we can also frame it in that recently went viral. Like somebody uncovered that and like outed you. Right?
Yeah.
As they don't. And Cole and I were actually lucky enough to find your contact information and like pretending that
Perfect.
it's actually been a thing, maybe even talked about on like certain like comic book podcasts, but we were able to find you.
Oh man. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yes, totally.
All right. And don't think about it anymore. We'll call you one of these days.
Awesome. Sounds great. You know, and this is a true story. I at one point in time, Cole would like this. Does Cole listen to the podcast? No, probably not. Have him just listen to this part.
All right.
I came up with an idea when I was in college of doing a gritty reboot of Our Man.
Our Man.
That was centered around like speed addiction, kind of the concept that there, you know, because Our Man is a superhero and he takes pills and then he's a superhero for an hour and then they wear off.
Yeah.
And so there was this thing where at some point in time they took away the pills and they gave him a ray, and when the ray was on him, he would get the powers. And so I came up with this idea for a story where he still takes the pills. He just turns the ray on. And then while the ray is on, he takes the pills. And then he's like, yay, I did it. And I had a pitch. If I still had the pitch, which I don't, I had a pitch to, I believe it was DC that was doing Our Man. I did a pitch to them, but it could have been, I believe it was DC. But if I'm wrong and it's Marvel, it's fine. It was a long time ago. I did a pitch, and if I had the thing that they wrote back to me, I would read that, and it would be great, but I don't have it. Which is that I had, like, his original dad dying, overdosing on it. He was an old guy, and his heart just gave out, and he was, like, you know, punching guys, and his fists were bloody, and he was, like, all messed up. And they were like, yeah, a main character dying is not good. We can't do this. And I wrote back something like, I'm sorry that you guys don't have any vision. It was a horrible exchange. So I would be channeling that version of myself.
Yeah.
To the thing. And talk about how, you know, they went a different way. You know, they made Gambit Cajun. I thought he should have been French. He was throwing baguettes instead of. That's not what we're doing. We're not doing that one. I'm just throwing it out there. As he was throwing baguettes, that's how it starts, right? It starts with just normal things, and then he goes, and also just the idea of the menage a trois is a very important part of French culture, and the fact that was one of his superpowers was people just didn't. They didn't understand what I was going for, and people said that I was too young to even know of that concept. But like I said, that was something that was very important to my mom's boyfriend, and she didn't like it, so I wrote it into the comic book for him, and he said it was the greatest thing he ever read. You know, or whatever. I'm just, like I said, throw that there. We can figure out how to actually do it. And stay family friendly at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. I hadn't heard of Hour Man, but knowing that he takes pills to become a superhero for an
Yeah.
hour, it's a little ripe for the whole, if your superhero lasts more than 4 hours, consult your Doctor Doom or whatever.
Yeah. There was also Dial H for Hero. Do you know about that?
I've heard of
I
it,
know
but I don't
Cole
know
knows
of
about
it.
Hey, I got a question. Does Cole play role-playing games?
No. He's not a gamer.
That seems weird to me, but, whatever. I'm sorry, Cole, if you're still listening to the part that I asked Ben to have you listen to. I'm not dismissing you.
He doesn't play role-playing games, but he did get into the TV show Mythic Quest. Have you seen Mythic Quest?
I think you and I talked about Mythic Quest.
Did we?
Maybe the last episode, yeah.
It might have. It's all I've been watching on my own lately, and so I finally finished it.
Oh, I finished The Boys. That's right. We didn't talk about it on the podcast. I think we talked about it on the phone together.
Oh yeah.
I think
We're,
we actually had
testing
a conversation.
out the thing. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird whenever you and I. Oh yeah. For those who are, is anybody watching? By the way,
one person.
For the one person watching, you might notice that my video is a little bit better on the live stream, and it's because the router's on the floor now, and that was good.
It's amazing how much of a difference that made.
It really is. Really is a lot of a difference. But it makes sense to me, I think, because the signal's already weaker because it's going through the floor.
Yeah.
So if it's farther away and going through the floor, it's going to be a little bit worse. I like The Boys. Finale, it was good. Ooh, have you been watching Loki? Did I ask you this already?
Yeah, I finished it last night.
Okay, so get this. The guy who played the guy, and you know the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah, do we want to say Loki spoilers for this?
Loki spoilers, just in case. Yeah.
All right.
So the guy who played the guy at the end of time,
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors was the main character. Well, I mean, it's an ensemble show, but sort of the lead of Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
A show that I watched and I enjoyed, and I did not recognize him.
Well, to be fair, that scene was awful dark.
He did a really, really great job with characterization of that guy.
No, I clocked him. I mean, it's probably a little our fault. I watched it at Blair's place, and before the sun goes down, there's terrible glare on the TV, even if we have the shades pulled. So it's a dark scene anyway. So I was able to clock him after a while. But I love it.
When you said the scene was dark, I thought you meant like it was a messed up scene, which it was in many ways.
No, it was like it takes place in a dark environment. However,
but I want to say this is a gripe that I have with Loki the show, because I ran into that problem a bunch. A lot of the season, there were scenes that I couldn't make out.
It was weird because it was a very dark, darkly lit show, and there were a ton of moments where we had to go back and rewatch certain scenes with subtitles because we couldn't understand what they were saying. Also, Owen Wilson basically whispered throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
I love that
subtitles on everything.
So Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country.
Jonathan Majors, all the different inflections and pauses and movements that he did with the. Acting, Ben. Acting.
He was acting.
That was some acting.
Do you know who else was acting in it? Wunma Musaku, who was also in Lovecraft Country. She played Ruby. Ruby in Lovecraft Country was I don't remember her designation, C-48 or something.
Ruby
in Loki.
Was a good character in Lovecraft Country, and also, I did notice that
she was again, turned by Sylvia.
Totally different actor, almost, it seemed like. It was great. And Lovecraft Country Season 2, not coming out.
Not going to happen. But Loki Season 2, promised by Marvel.
So I'm glad that both of them are in that, because they'll both return in that show then.
Yeah. Oh, good. I got her name right. And it's Sylvie,
I
not
almost
Sylvia.
forgot. I gotta check Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League graphic novel coming out at some point in time soon. I think I'm gonna have to check it out and see.
A Buckaroo Banzai graphic novel?
Yeah, it's a graphic novel, or maybe it's a book. Maybe. Oh wait, it might be a book. It might just be a book.
What's it called?
Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League. Famously, Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League teased after the Buckaroo Banzai credit scene.
Ah. So 30 years later, it finally comes out, huh?
Exactly. And I completely forgot about it. But yeah, I think it's just a book. I need to look. In fact, that's what I'm going to do after the podcast. Also, I'm going with Jennifer to buy some makeup for her. Although I figured out if I was going to wear makeup, what I'd do is I'd darken the under parts of my eyes. That would be my big makeup.
Like mascara darken or black eye darken?
I'm not sure. I think black eye darken.
Are you lining it or are you shading it under your eye?
Shading, I think. All right. Because that's what I do with all of my video game characters. And I like the way it looks. So
you just like the way they look. They look tired and haggard.
No, they look crazy, which I can sort of do just with my eyes in general. But imagine darkness underneath.
You got crazy eyes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy good is what I'm saying.
Crazy good.
I feel like there's something else that I was going to talk about that I am not remembering, which is too bad. There's a conversation that was happening on TikTok that I just wanted to rein in on. That people were arguing about how most people in real life would be 0 level, wouldn't even be first level characters. And I agree with that. I stated that I had done some first level stuff when I was younger. I believe that to be true. I believe I have done some stuff that would be first level. I'm not saying that I have gotten out of first level. I'm not saying I'm second level. I'm just saying that I did some things.
So what sort of things did you do when you were younger that are first level? And also, does it last with you forever, or does it wear off at a certain point? You got to redo it.
Well, see, I think and this is what I finally came to, the idea that would I still do it? And the answer is no, probably not. But so as an example, I would say that jumping off the gorge for Dun was an adventurer kind of thing. I think anything where you could die if something went wrong might be considered. So jumping off the gorge for Dun.
Yeah.
Stealing a bunch of stuff, being in the Air Force. I'm not say a bunch of stuff. I don't mean, tons of things. But, I did get in trouble. Trespassing, all that kind of... All the crimes I did, plus my military service, I think would count as at least a first level thing.
Alrighty.
Like I said, but there are a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I'd totally kill someone, and I'm like, that's not a great thing to brag about. That's not a super fun. And then I finally came up with it, and this is the thing, Ben.
Yes, Paul.
At slow pace, a character in Dungeons and Dragons is supposed to be able to walk 18 miles in a day. Do you think that you could walk 18 miles and then build a camp?
Like, could I cover 18 miles in a day, or like the speed I walk, or would I have enough stamina to do 18 miles in one day?
Is what I'm going for. Yeah.
At slow pace, I think I could. Yeah. Like, would I be able to finish it in a day? Who knows? But I think I could do it.
Yeah. Well, that'd be the idea. You walk 18 miles, and then you set up a tent.
Yeah.
Could you do that? And I was thinking.
Is it a new tent or like a medieval tent?
That's a good point. But the way I was thinking about it, I hate setting up tents even if I haven't walked at all.
Yeah.
So,
And then you'd have to go like hunt for food and find a creek for water
and then I was like, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't want to walk 18 miles. That in and of itself, the fact that I don't want to walk 18 miles tells me not an adventure anymore.
Ah, yes.
Now, at one point in time, I lived in Dorsey, Illinois. I walked to Edwardsville, which is about 15 miles.
Okay.
And that wasn't that bad. I mean, I'm sure I could do it again. But the thing is, I didn't want to be in Dorsey. I was at my parents' house. I wanted to hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
And so I walked. And my parents were against it. They were like, don't do it. But it worked out okay. I didn't do it again. And I think that was just because once I got there, there wasn't really anything. Like, I was at a friend's house, and they're like, okay, well, time for you to go now. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because I didn't tell anyone I was doing it. This was before cell phones.
Yeah.
So I just showed up. So that's something. Hey, speaking of just showing up, hey, baby!
I don't know if I've ever walked.
I don't know if she'll show up or not.
I don't know if I've ever walked. I don't know what the longest amount I've walked is in a day, but I did have a job where I was on my feet all day and had to run back and forth between like cars and the shop, and so I'm sure I covered a few miles. Worst thing you could do is wear a new pair of shoes when you have a job where you have to be on your feet all day. Whew, that was terrible.
Oh man, and that's the thing. Being on your feet all day in general, not great.
But I was 22 at the time, so I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When I went through basic training, I was I was 21. Yeah, I was 21. In basic training, I turned. Oh wait, yeah, I was 21 in basic training. I turned 22 when I was in my tech school, I believe. And yeah, that wasn't great. I hated it. I hated marching. Didn't like it. But I think if I knew I was going to go to cool stuff, like if I knew that it was 18 miles to a cool dungeon, I might do it.
Yeah.
But then again, would I want to kill things? I don't know. I don't think so. That's a difference between role-playing games in real life that I wish, and video games too, that I wish would happen more in video games. If I had one thing that I could put in video games, it's that, are we going to fight? That tension of, you don't actually have to fight this person. That you could both walk away and it would be fine. They may not attack you.
I had one of those today in the bus tunnel.
What's that?
I had one of those experiences today in the light rail tunnel.
Oh yeah, in fact, Ben, when I was talking about that, I was talking specifically bus stop encounters. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was walking into the light rail tunnel.
Oh, she's coming. Hey.
Yeah, I was walking into the light rail tunnel, and this dude was walking like away from me, and then he saw me, and he started making a beeline towards me, just staring me down. So he was kind of like in the way where I wanted to go. So I sort of altered my path a bit, and he corrected to intercept me, and we passed like shoulder to shoulder.
Wow, that's.
And he was staring me down the entire time. Alrighty.
What's your outfit? Is it your swimsuit?
It's just normal shorts with my swim shirt.
Okay.
Also, can I mention how much I hate the swim shirt?
Yeah.
You can mention it.
Do you want to talk about why you hate it?
It's because I don't like having...
The swim shirt,
we can stop right here.
The swim shirt has built-in boobs that are unnecessary.
We don't have to go any further in this conversation.
Yeah, and I hate it. I hate it so much.
All right.
Anyways.
Hate it as much as you want. Never wear it again.
Oh, well, I'll just cut them out. Anyways, so things have been going good. Nothing really eventful is happening, aside from the fact that I'm finishing summer school tomorrow.
Uh-oh, you're gonna sneeze?
No, that was a yawn.
Oh, I see. You've been in...
I'm tired.
Yeah, so am I. It's almost 5. You've been in band camp the last couple of weeks. How's band camp?
Band camp is good.
Yeah?
There are some friends at band camps.
Yeah, but only because I have friends at band camp. Actual band camp sucks because it's hot.
Oh, because you're all outside?
We have to be out. Yeah, we have to be outside because it's marching band.
Oh, yes.
But luckily I'm playing a part that doesn't move. So...
What are you playing?
That's cool.
Bells.
Cool. Is there musical notation for bells?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Like any brass or woodwind or anything instrument.
Like regular, like half notes and quarter notes on a staff?
Yeah.
Right on. And
Can I go?
Yep.
Yes.
Talk to you later.
I want to leave.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Betty, you're always free to go.
Betty's also free to not show up if Betty doesn't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, and then I realized that the tone that I had queued up to say it was gonna sound snarky, and I didn't mean it like that. So I will wait, and I will have that discussion with her. But
Right
that's something I was thinking about. As kids, our parents make decisions for us, and then at some point in time, they sort of abdicate those decisions, but they don't let go of that power right away. So a 20-year-old kid, mom and dad go, I don't know about that. And even though they're out of the house and things like that, it still affects their decision-making sometimes.
Oh, yeah, even people in their 30s and 40s are still dealing with that kind of thing.
Yeah, it happens to me sometimes, for sure. Of course, there's the opposite, where if mom and dad tell you to do something, then you don't do it. You don't want to.
Fortunately, I've gotten to that point where my parents don't generally tell me to do anything. They ask me to do things.
Oh, who was that? The guy who played Wesley in Princess Bride.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Keep it wrong. Carrie Elwes. Carrie Elwes.
Yeah. When I was in the Bravo show Lulwork, the stage manager that we had, and that may not have been their title for sure, but I had worked with Carrie Elwes, and whenever it was time to go to set, he said, I like to be invited to set instead of being ordered to set. And it was just a small thing, but saying, I now invite you to set, it feels really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a small change, but it's great.
As opposed to some production manager saying, Paul Goody to set now, Paul Goody to set.
Although, with me and my little quirks and all that, I wouldn't mind that sometimes. That's fine. If you want to order me around, I will deal with it.
Oh, we've discovered one of your buttons.
Yeah. Speaking of buttons, look at this guy.
Look at that little button. Can hardly see him. His white fur is getting blown out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Edward, look, you're blown out. Get close.
Ah! Close up, dog. Oh,
close up, dog. You're so cute, Edward.
You can see the ring light in his little puppy eyeballs.
Little arms.
Oh.
Sticking straight out. All right, so Ben, I suppose what we should do is keep it wrong between now and the next time we talk.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan, and also keep it wrong after that as well. I wish you a perpetual
quick
keep it
shout
wrong.
out to the new season of Dimension 20 that I've been watching. They're doing kids on brooms, and it's great. Play a game other than D&D, why don't you? Sometimes, people. It's
how
great.
dare you? D&D's the classic. It's the standard bearer.
Hey, look, I am in fact running a D&D campaign soon, so don't let my friends who don't like Wizards of the Coast know about it. No, they're fine. Lots of them like D&D too, but it's just that, yeah, the idea that small creators are being overshadowed by D&D is very true, very poignant, and so it's worth celebrating other designers. Speaking about which, of course, Lame Mage, Ben Robbins' company, putting out some great games. Actually, true story, Microscope called out in the Dungeon Master's Guide as something for people to read to get more out of Dungeons and Dragons, surprisingly enough. So
there you go. It's all about world building. And so
exactly.
I wish all of those indie creators and Ben Robbins and his company a very happy Keep It Wrong.
And Ben, I wish you a happy Keep It Wrong until we speak again.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Paul.